Alright guys, today in this video we're going to be installing my turbo. So I got my Tomei MX7960 turbo and we're going to be installing it. See, there's the old turbo. So we're going to take that out and put the new one in. So I got the new turbo. Comes with all, the gaskets, and it's literally Bolton. Same manifold, intercooler piping, intake, all that stuff, everything's stock. There's the turbo. You can see there's the Tomei turbo. Where is it? This. That's the part number. I made an unboxing video of the turbo not that long ago, so you can just watch that if you want. But yeah, we're gonna be installing it and we're gonna get to it. So yeah, we're gonna take off the intake, take off the intercooler piping, exhaust piping right there too, and then the manifold. Alright, so we're gonna get to it. We're gonna start disconnecting everything. Take off the intercooler piping, take off the intake, or move the intake down a bit. And then yeah, so we're gonna unbolt the exhaust mount. And then yeah, there's no blow-off valve on the Tomei turbo, so we're gonna leave it for now. It comes with a new wastegate as well with different springs. So I'm taking off the forged wastegate and forged blow-off valve. Alright, so the intake's off. You have the intercooler piping off. And the problem with ours is that, look at this, oil with metal shavings in the intake, or in the intake to the turbo. So yeah, we're gonna need to replace the turbo. Yeah, I got some better lighting. You can see there's all oil right there in the intake, right to the turbo, and then there's some metal shavings on the other side, and then there's oil leaking from the bottom side of this. So I can tell this turbo's blown. When I bought the car, the engine was blown, so I reused the turbo at the time. And turbo ran for a bit. Now we're just gonna swap the turbo. Here's all the new parts we got inside. All the new pipes, braided line, gaskets. So we're gonna drain the oil out right now. We have the top out. We have the top side taken off mostly. We're gonna drain the oil because when we take off the lines, it's gonna dripping a lot of oil. The exhaust is loose now, you can see. So we're gonna take those two bolts at the very top. You can see that on their manifold. Okay, can you point to them, or the two manifold bolts? Right above there, you can probably see them. The two. We're lighting on that. Yeah, those two right there. We're gonna bolt those two off, and boom, the turbo falls straight. Now we just gotta take off the other bolts, or the oil line, cooling line, and stuff like that. Alright, we're gonna drain out the oil. Oh, the gas is gonna come off. There you go. Jeez. This is what? Changed before we stored the car? So it looks green. Oil's probably 500 kilometers, maybe less. Take off the bottom return line for the turbo. There it is. Jeez, look at that, more oil coming out. So when you take out the coolant line, you will have to bleed out the system again, because there'll be air in the system. So if you're driving and you don't do the bleed, then your fan's gonna kick in on high speed, and you're gonna get issues where it's gonna show hot temperature on the gauge. When you take off the coolant line, you wanna be careful. That shit just shot all over us. Get him. Oh man, look at all that cooling coming out. Jeez. Alright. Okay, so we'll get that in there. Yep. Alright, so we're gonna take off the bolt. This one down. Almost there. Oh, the whole stud's turning. Oh, never mind. Okay, just the one bolt? The whole stud. Oh, the whole stud came out? Jeez. Yeah, I see common issues on the Genesis. Anyways, that's the two bolts holding in the turbo, or the one nut, no, one stud. Those are the top two bolts under the manifold. Anyway, so that's the bolts. The bolts came out. The two top bolts right there are out now. You can see that. Now we're gonna take out the turbo from the top side.
That line right here.
Okay.
That line.
I gotta take off that line. Okay, and then we gotta take off the top two bolts for the manifold.
And that's it. Turbo.
And that's it. Turbo comes out. Yeah. No other line sitting on it, right? Alright, let's get this done. The other line right there, this one, we gotta take off that line, and then the top two bolts on the manifold, and that's it. You don't have to take out the manifold. I mean, if you're working on the ground, then you might want to take off the manifold, make your life easier, but all varies. There you go. Oh, we're gonna have more coolant coming out. I think this one's gonna explode too, or actually, let's find out. Find out on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. Oh, actually, never mind. I guess it all drained out from the bottom. Alright, so we're good on that. Yeah. That's in the top two bolts, and that's it. Turbo comes right out. Jeez, okay, there you go. Alright, turbo's out. Yeah, I gotta wobble it a bit. Oh, I take off the pipe too, the pipes for the wastegate and stuff.
Yeah,
yeah. Take off from there.
It's not even that, it's something stuck on.
Oh, they took off the manifold. Now you gotta push the turbo down. The bolt's in there, remember? Look, the top of the manifold bolt, it's still up. You gotta hit it downwards a bit.
I'm just seeing where it's getting stuck at.
We gotta take off the manifold instead. The turbo is stuck on something. Looks like it's hitting the water pump. So we're going to take it out from the manifold now. Alright, so yeah, it wasn't hitting the water pump. It was actually hitting the engine mount. So the top 5 bolts are out. Now we're going on to the bottom ones, and then boom, the manifold comes out. Bit of a pain to get, but yeah. We had to pull off the power steering. So there's the 2 bolts right here on the power steering that you have to get off through the holes in the pulley. And then we got that one last bolt out. There it is. And boom, there comes out the turbo. Kind of a pain just taking off the manifold. But yeah, it's out now. That's the old manifold. There's the old turbo. There you go. And look at all that coolant just coming out of that. Jeez. Anyways, that's that. That's the old turbo. That's so tiny. Tiny little snail. And you playing the turbine?
No.
Oh, that's probably good. Probably have to reuse that. Probably on the new turbo. That's the wastegate. Anyways, that's finally out. And now we're gonna look at the instructions on how to put the new turbo in, and yeah, we're gonna go from there. Yeah, I was hitting them out. That's okay, it's out now. So yeah, when I take off the power steering, once you take this off, there's a little bracket on the side here. You can see that. It's a 12 mil for the top and bottom bolts. These are it. These are the top. These are the bottom. So just give me a heads up. Once you got that out, then you get that one last bolt in the corner of the manifold. Alright, so now let's put the new turbo in. That goes on right above the oil filter, and you put a bit of anti-seize on it as according to this. So installing the ARMS turbocharger. You can see the diagram right there. Okay, so you got it in, or? Yeah, so it goes on like that. Hard to see, but you can see it goes right above the oil filter. There, get some light.
Oh, do you need it?
No, I guess you. Yeah, I mean, I can see it.
Why do you give it more light?
You tighten it up?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'm gonna tighten that up. Torque spec is 31.4 Newton meters. That's a torque spec for that. You can see right there. Turbo. So So this turbo is basically straight bolt on, so you can see how the torque spec has all the, you know, the washers, bolts, all that stuff.
You forget.
Okay, that's put it. All right. So it's tightened. I mean, if it leaks, then we know just to tighten it again. Early. Anyways, now that's that. All right, now we go on to the turbo. Now we gotta take the turbo and install the other stuff on the turbo. Turbo's in here. There it is. It says oil return line, which is okay. Hold on, let me see the.
Is it the same size or
oil
this
return
one
line?
bigger?
And both M6.
Yeah, they're all in.
Okay. So oil return line. Putting the gasket on. And putting the oil return line with gasket. This torque is 9 Newton meters. Okay. Oh, hard time getting that one, yeah. That one's gonna be a pain to get. Alright, the 2 bolts are in, and we're gonna torque them 9 Newton meters. That's it. So that one's done, so that's done, right? Okay. More the connecting various pipes to the one water inside.
I think it's a 17. Yeah. Look at the 17 again.
Now this thing you can see, water return, which is basically coolant, that's 31.4 Newton meters. Next time we need a water feed that goes on the other side. That one cut?
No. I have it. This.
No. It's probably the same as the return, which is 31.4. On the oil feed, the red thing on this. So this is the heat resistant wrapping. So the black one is your vacuum hose. See? The red one is your heat resistant wrapping. You're going to put around the line. So we don't bend the wastegate, right?
Hold the line straight.
Okay. There you go.
One more time, just to make sure.
There you go. Yeah, like that. Or it's a little bit to the right, a little bit to the right, yeah, like that. And you have the oil line connected after. Or should we connect the oil line now while the thing's off?
100.
No, I'm saying you want to tighten the oil line first on that and then tighten it, or?
Oh yeah, well, hold on, we'll see.
Either way, it goes either way. Well, it has to go that way though. Yeah. Yeah, it says put the heat resistant hosing over the oil line. So, yeah, that's not for the OEM. Oh, what size? Oh, it's 14.
Hold this right there.
What's that noise? Huh? Ow. Are you supposed to like heat gun this after? No. Or you just leave it like that? Ah?
So it's also onto the exhaust in this flange. Oh, small side goes in there, yeah. All stuff goes 20. No oriented. Short end to turbo. Install using the double nut method. You know the double nut method, right? You put the one nut and they put the other one on top of it, tighten them each other, and then you turn it. Yeah. Alright, so we installed everything on the turbo. All the studs are installed. Both studs right here. All the lines, everything is done. And now we're going to put the turbo in the car. As you can see, that's the old turbo. What are you going to reuse? Or what are you taking off? Oh, okay, yeah, we'll reuse that. So this intake piece we have to reuse on the new turbo. As you can see, I mean, you can't shove the stock intake on that, or you can't just leave it like that. You can see that? Put that on. Partly in. We use the new gasket for the exhaust. We're gonna use one on the manifold as well, the ones that came with it. And you have to reuse all the hose. So the hose that connect here, or connect to the coolant and the, except the oil line, and you got a new oil hose, but that's about it. The rest you gotta reuse. Same with the intake hose, you have to reuse that. And now we're gonna put everything back together, put coolant in, put some oil in the engine, and start it up and see how it goes. We're bolting the manifold on. We're gonna do the rest tomorrow. We're just putting the oil in for now. And yeah, we'll start it again tomorrow. Alright, so we're back today. We're putting the manifold bolts in now. As you can see. So we left it yesterday and well, we had to, I mean, we didn't have enough time, so we're redoing it today. All the manifold bolts are in, they're tightened up, 50 Newton meters of torque. And now we're putting the power steering in, and then the vacuum hose is actually after power steering, so the bolt up the turbo to the manifold. And then yeah, we're gonna plug everything back on and finally turn it on.
Alright, so we're putting the manifold bolts back on. Easier for me. Alright, the torque specs for the nuts is 49 to 50 Newton meters. Torque. That's torqued. Alright, so now we gotta mount the turbo mounting bolts. So the turbo mounting bolts, there's one here, and then the two that are on the side right here. This is the plate. I'm gonna go clean the rust off and put it on and probably paint it too. Not 100% sure yet, but yeah. So you can see that the plate sits there, and along the two bolts on the side, right over here. So yeah, I'll show you guys what it looks like after. So as you can see, I installed the bracket back in, 2 bolts on the engine side and then 2 bolts on the turbo side. and that's it, secure. Torque them down to 50 Newton meters. Gonna put everything back in at the top and go from there.
All right, so yeah, now everything back in. These are bolted in as well, you can see. New bolts, all the lines, everything's done. Now we're gonna put the intercooler piping and the intake back on, and that's it. All right, so everything's back in. Intake's back in. Now we're putting the intercooler piping on, and then that's it. Okay, that's tight. And now we gotta put that one bolt back in right there. And that's it. Car's all done. That's it. Now we gotta put the reservoir back in, top up the coolant from here. Engine oil's already topped up. Yeah, we gotta make a little slot for the coolant pipe. Yeah, probably like that, yeah. Now comes the moment of truth. Starting it up and finding out if it doesn't leak or doesn't screw up on us. Yeah, we need a lot of coolant. This thing dropped all of it the other day, yesterday. All the coolant came out. Damn, just guzzling it in. Alright, it's almost done. No more air coming out. Yeah. Take out the fuse pump relay, which is right on the left side. There's a blue fuse, the blue relay. This one right here. Make sure you take it out, goes right there. And make sure oil level's topped up. Right here, top up the engine oil and coolant as required. Okay, ensure the vehicle is in neutral gear and check the parking brake is engaged. Crank the engine for 15 seconds, but do not start it, so you just take out the fuel pump relay and it'll keep cranking. And then you start the engine, check for any leaks of coolant or oil during idle. Stop the engine, check to make sure the oil and coolant levels are acceptable levels. And start the engine, rev to 3,000 RPM, check for any exhaust leaks or abnormal sounds. And then test drive the vehicle, make sure the turbo is generating boost and pressure. So right now the actuator is it's set to default. We didn't change any springs or anything. We're taking the car to SFR to get it tuned, right? We're taking the car to SFR to get it tuned, so they'll take care of all that.
All right, guys. So the turbo's installed, sitting over here. I've had the car running for maybe like 3 hours now. No leaks found, no anything. Gonna go drive it and break it in and then go for a tune after. All right, see you guys on the next video.